And good Sunday afternoon. The League of Excellent Extraordinary Negroes. And we're going to be talking about High on the Hog, the first episode, Our Roots. I'm Jade.
Oh, I'm Carla Stillwell, resident philosopher.
Who goes next? Is it me or is it...
You're
Yeah.
next. You're next.
Well, I'm Marcus, everybody.
And we have a special guest today, Nancy Williams. Okay, hold on a second. I got to do it. I got to say it right. Agricultural scientist.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with that because, and the co-founder,
Uh-huh.
co-founder, and executive director of No More Empty Pots, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you. And I hail from the South and I like to eat.
Now we're in the South. You have to be specific.
Louisiana, rural Louisiana, northwestern Louisiana. Small town called Coshado.
Never heard of it.
I know.
Probably got cousins there.
Probably so.
Probably. I mean, probably. So, question for today. What is a typical Sunday of your past?
Oh,
A typical Sunday meal from your past? Because, we eat different now. But what was it before?
now in my house, it was always a meat on Sunday. Some sort of roast, pot roast, pork shoulder, lamb. It was always some big meat. And it was either red beans and rice. There was always a collard green because we were green snobs. On occasion, there was the mustard turnip, combination, but that was, the collard green reigned supreme. There was always a potato salad, macaroni and cheese, coleslaw kind of situation. That was typical on Sunday. We cooked. I come from people that cooked. Some people were so Chicago by way of Mississippi and Georgia and South Kakalaki. So we did. Oh, and a sweet potato was oft available
Right.
on Sunday. We're not gonna get into dessert. That's for another round.
Okay. All right. I'll save that one then. Okay. Nancy.
So we grew most of the food that we ate, almost all of it, like 98%. So it depended on what time of the year it was. So this time of the year, you have the greens would just be going to seed because it's so hot. But some of the collard greens you still might be able to get out because they are the tougher ones. But the mustards and the turnips would mostly have gone to seed by now. You may have some turnip bottoms left, depending on. So it's June. So you might have some early peas that would be coming out. The Crowders and Purple Hulls would be later in June and July. Peaches would be coming out about now if they had the early variety, and later in June, July if they had the later ones. Some of the new potatoes we still have. Depends on how ambitious we were with sweet potatoes. We might still have some left over from the harvest in September, but usually you'd be ending the root vegetables around April or May and moving into whatever is fresh coming out. So you have mostly greens. You'd have some early peas. We didn't do a lot of like carrots and radishes kind of things because, it was heartier food. There might be some early okra if it was hot and dry. But usually the okra would be like towards July. But the interesting thing is we didn't usually eat meat until Sunday. So Monday through Friday is mostly vegetarian. So we put up a lot of food too. So it'd be peas and corn and tomatoes and all of that in the freezer. And so you just go pull that if you didn't have anything fresh. And then you'd add rice or potatoes or something like to it. We always had rice and rice and gravy, or rice and peas, rice, peas and sweet potatoes, peas, sweet potatoes and biscuits. So there's always cornbread on Sunday. There was always some sort of meat. So like a roast or a chicken. And then you'd have some rice with some combination, usually lemonade or something fruity to drink, because they didn't pay for pop. And you just don't do that. You pay for sugar. And then with the sugar, you make all the other things you need to make. We had a very short grocery shopping list. But the meal was mostly from the land and whatever food we had. So if we had bought part of a cow and there was still roast left, we'd use that. If we had bought part of a pig and there were still pork chops or something, we'd have that. Or if there were chickens, then we'd have that. Occasionally, like on Saturdays, we'd have like the vermin or things that people would catch, like raccoon and hog maws and pig ears and pig feet and neck bones and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. Does anybody
remember before oxtails got gentrified?
Thank you. They were affordable and you could choose to eat them.
Oxtails too before they got gentrified.
Right. Yes. Now they're $9.97 a pound.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay, I'm hungry now, Nancy.
Oh, so hungry.
I mean, I knew I was going to get. I knew that was going to happen, but you just immediately took us there. And I'm gonna come back to half of what you said. Okay, Marcus.
Yeah, Sundays were days at my grandma's house. Sunday was her day, so we would all pile in and go over there early in the day, and she'd always cook and make dinner for everybody. And it just depended on what the day was. Spaghetti, or mac and cheese and ham, barbecue chicken, enchiladas. Her chili was really good. I think the best thing she made was baked beans. They were freaking great. But my grandfather would eat almost none of that. Sunday he'd get a steak and a baked potato and some kind of vegetable she'd try to force on him. That's what he ate, and the rest of us ate whatever she made. And you liked it; it was great, and I miss it.
You had a very northern Sunday, tradition.
My family is all like plains based, wherever they could stay. I really have to find out more about my history. I've come to realize I didn't know much, and my opportunities to find out are dwindling. So I need to hurry up.
Yeah, you're going to get on that. Before I go into my Sunday routine, we have another special guest, Judy Kia Gary, cultural curator, our sister from Kenya. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you, Jade. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Good to see y'all.
So we were just talking about our Sunday meal traditions. Do you have Sunday meal traditions?
I wouldn't necessarily call them traditions because they were not consistent. I come from a family of 10. And my dad worked and my mom had a shop, and we used to sell in the shop all the time. And so Saturdays, weekends in general were for, I wouldn't say fun stuff, but just very laid back. Sundays, it wasn't traditional food. It was when we got treats.
Oh,
Judy.
So yes, no, I don't mean treats like that.
Like, what are you getting ready to tell us?
No, that we would get ice cream. There's a particular ice cream parlor called Snow Cream in the middle of the city, and it is very popular, extremely popular. So when we were growing up, that would always be like a treat if you were sick or if you were, something like that. So, but generally we would eat, I mean, a lot of the tribe I'm from, we eat a lot of beans and corn and potatoes. We're more very plant based almost. And so growing up, meat is not something that we ate every day. It's just not. Maybe chicken, but meat in general was very expensive growing up. And so on weekends, my dad's food, my dad was still very traditional in all his, the only food he allowed himself to really love outside of Kikuyu food was Indian food. Because we have a lot of Indian influence in Kenya because they came to build the railway. And so if we were being treated, we were being treated to an Indian meal, right? Like,
Okay.
but at home, it's primarily his favorites on weekends. Everything revolves around the father. You know what I mean? So whatever it is that he wants to eat is what we're all eating. So, um, so it's there's a particular meal called githeri, which is it's maize, beans, potatoes, and we put a lot of soup in my tribe in every dish. Even dishes that should not have soup, we put soup. We put a ton of water to make it soupy. Plus, there's 10 of us. There's my mom, my dad, cousins that lived with us. So it goes further.
Mm.
So, but yeah, so it's either that or they call them plantains, but they're not really plantains. They're bananas of some type. They're in the banana family. So, that with potatoes was always one of his favorites. I remember us eating a lot of that. And yeah, I mean, other stuff, but for the most part, he stuck to the traditional meals a lot on weekends because he worked Monday through Friday. Saturday was like running around doing things, and Sunday was, chill out day. So if we're lucky, we get ice cream and snow cream. And if you're not, you're eating the things that you typically don't want to eat because it's the same things we eat in boarding schools or day schools.
Mm.
Just very traditional meals.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand the concept of eating what the father wanted
Hmm.
because that was basically my house.
Yep.
But our Sunday meals, my grandmother, so my mother's mother, my mother is one of 7 daughters, 1 son. And all of her sisters had between 2 and 5 children. And they would all convene at my grandmother's house. Even when I was little, we were still going to my grandmother's house for Sunday dinner. I don't know how they did that because it was a little tiny house on 30th and Maple Street with all these people. I mean, and like all of the daughters and their husbands and the kids and folks from church, like all piled into this little house. And my grandmother was making a lot of food. Like the sisters were bringing things, but my grandmother was still making a lot of the food. And it never ended. Like it was like the 5 fish and the 2. It was just like the food, we never ran out of anything. And when my grandmother became very ill, and then my grandfather passed away, it moved to my house. So then my house, my mother became the one that people convened at our house. And it was mostly my siblings, but still even cousins and aunts and uncles, people still would come to our house, which is why I don't like cooking so much, because I had to peel all those potatoes and all of the food prep was me and my sister. My sister made cornbread, but I did all of the other peeling and chopping and the monkey bread that my mother got all the credit for. I was the one kneading all the dough and dunking it in the butter and the sugar and throwing it in the bun pan. Like I was doing all of that from very young, and then washing all the dishes, which is why I don't do that anymore. So typically there was always at least 2 meats. There was a turkey and my father worked at the packing house. So there was always meat. There was always beef. there was always either a turkey or chicken or fried chicken or fish, but there was always beef and potatoes more than rice. My dad ate rice, but we didn't eat a whole lot of rice. We ate more potatoes. Always corn, always greens, um, string beans. There were just some things like green beans were always every meal, potatoes every meal, however the potato is going to be, whether it's scalloped potatoes, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, and sweet potatoes. Like there's two potatoes. Um, and that was a normal Sunday meal, which I look back now and it's like, that was ridiculous.
If I never ever see another string bean again in my life, it'll be too soon. I have snapped more than my weight in string beans in my life. Because we were sous chefs, man.
Yep, we were.
We were sous chefs.
Yep. Okay. So the next question. Oh man, well now I want to know about the desserts.
Oh girl.
So our dessert was my mother made a sweet potato pie. My grandmother, I loved her blueberry cobbler.
Oh,
I still remember what that blueberry cobbler tastes like.
Oh, I bet you
I'm
the crust
tasting that flavor. Yeah, but sweet potato pie or apple or some kind of cobbler, but there's generally a sweet potato pie and a cake somewhere.
Now, my mama made. Oh, you go, Mark.
Go. Well, my mother and grandmother had competing sweet potato pie recipes.
Oh no!
A thing I did not know until I was like, I had each of them over to make sweet potato pie because some of my friends had never had it, and I'm like, y'all are missing out. And then I found out they can't collaborate, so we had two different sweet potato pies.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You said they can't collaborate.
Not on many things, but not that day and not that task.
Wow. Revelations.
And I can't pry these recipes out of my people. They won't give them to me. So.
Somebody got to have it.
No, you gotta follow him around. That's how I got all my mother's recipes. I started following her around. You just gotta follow her. Walk around with her.
It's smart to do.
Secretly record.
Gotta follow her.
Yeah.
Now,
what other desserts?
I come from a family that's half sweet tooth, half savory people, half sugar people. And so dessert had to happen because my sister, my father, two of my sisters and my father, most of my relatives had what they call a dessert stomach. So dessert had to be planned like dinner because people that have second dessert stomachs needed that. So you have a dinner stomach and a dessert stomach. Pecan pie was regular on the table. Sweet potato pie was always available. My mama used to make a pineapple upside down cake just because. German chocolate cake would show up. Any of the cakes, the only thing we didn't make in my family was red velvet cake.
We didn't do that either.
That's the out of all the cobblers, peach cobblers, a regular thing. On any given Sunday, one of those things could pop up. Cinnamon rolls, my mother would make the cinnamon rolls from scratch with the glaze. She'd make poke cakes. That would happen at any time, but we never did red velvet cake. I didn't have that until I was an adult. I didn't have pumpkin pie until I was grown. I was at after work white people Thanksgiving at 30 something before I tasted a pumpkin. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't understand.
And when I tasted it, I was so disgusted that even happened to me.
So,
Pumpkin.
Nancy, were there desserts with all of that?
Yeah, their banana pudding is a favorite. But it wasn't a regular Sunday. It was like a special Sunday kind of thing because of the effort that it took to go into it. And we didn't raise bananas. So that means there was a purchase involved
Mhm.
of bananas and cookies, the vanilla wafers. The custard was made from scratch. But you have to purchase the bananas and cookies, so you couldn't do that often. So that would be like on a holiday weekend is when you would have that kind of addition. Same thing with potato salad. You've got all of these other extra ingredients with the mayonnaise and the eggs and the potatoes and onions. And if it's not something that we grew and that we had readily available, we didn't have it that often. So again, it's special occasions when that happened. We mainly had like, depending on when our grandparents were around, and they would come over because our house became like the gathering place. I'm the oldest of six, so my mom is the oldest of 11, and so most of the people would come by our house, going through and eating, and it's still like that on holidays. But I remember one of our grandmothers used to make blackberry cobbler, but it was when blackberries were in season and you could pick them along the fence row, the railroad track, or wherever, because we didn't have blackberry bushes, but we knew where to get them. There was peach cobbler when peaches were in season. There was pound cake when the egg lady had come by and we had, enough flour to pull that away from what we were going to use for biscuits to be able to put towards a cake. But it wasn't guaranteed that we'd have dessert. And then we didn't have a lot of it. We had a lot of vegetables, but it was one thing. And once it's gone, it's gone. I clearly remember when we had pound cake and had the blessed occurrence of some ice cream to go with it. I ain't leave nothing. I licked my bowl clean. It was shiny, like it had gone through a cascade wash by the time it was over. So, because you didn't have it that often, and I wasn't going to let anything go to waste, and everybody knew it was going to happen, so it was not even a big deal. I was a teenager before I stopped doing that because it was like, why would I leave ice cream in the bowl? I don't know when we're going to get it again.
Oh, wow. Judy, now I
Food is
know
so
that,
fun.
we've talked before about desserts. Now, you said the ice cream, that was your special treat. Are there
Special,
any?
very
Yes.
special.
I guess for some of us, it was special over here, too. Are there any traditional desserts?
So, in my household, we generally did not do desserts. There are desserts. Again, I feel like it's very tribal almost based. So if the people at the coast are very good at like coconut macaroons or those type of desserts, or there's a special it's like dough with water, sugar, whatever. It's called mandazi. You can buy it here at any of the Somali restaurants that they sell that too because they've adopted it. But in our household, generally, no, we didn't do desserts. What you ate was your food, and after you finish your food, because again, there were so many of us in our family, literally, at any given time, we probably had 15 people in our house, living in our house, not passing through, right? And so it was a stretch enough, anyways, for everybody having a good, full, filling meal. But we also come from a place where fruit is plenty. So for us, we didn't necessarily call it dessert, but you had mangoes. You can go climb the tree and get lugwards. You know what I mean? We have sweet bananas, the baby small sweet bananas. So yeah, I mean, I guess I would say those were desserts, but not nothing planned. Like you're actually going to have another meal. Did you just eat? Why do you need another meal?
No, no, no. Listen, my sister, God bless her soul, will not finish dinner because she needs room for dessert. It's plain. My sister and
Goodness.
my niece wake up in the morning talking about what are they having after dinner.
Oh, my mother and her sisters would keep a piece of meat from whatever the dinner was, whether it was chicken or pot roast or whatever, or turkey. They would keep a piece of the meat to have with their dessert.
Yes, for balance. Because you need
Yes.
to balance your flavors. Come on.
Yes.
Dessert
Yes.
people are real. They exist. I'm not they're out here in these peach cobbler streets, okay? They're out here
I think
planning
that
dessert.
I think it's so fascinating. We're all from different places and then converging in Omaha and Chicago. And we have very different, but yet similar food experiences. That's what I think is fascinating about Black people and food, that it doesn't matter where you come from, you will find things that are similar in some way, shape, or form. In watching the documentary in the first episode, what kinds of connections did you make from his time in Benin?
The tomato. For me, it was about the tomato because I love them. I loved them as a child. You know how you have that thing when you become an adult and you're like, there are people, whole like groups of people that don't like this. Like that was like I'm a little girl from the South Side. We put salt and seasoned salt on tomato and eat it outside while you jump a double dutch. Like the tomato was what I knew it was a fruit because it's delicious. So part of part of the documentary that just kept hitting me is every time they would talk about red rice or the red corn flour with the tomato in it. And the Stephen, the host, he made that connection to tomato. Like we'd have fish and like a spaghetti, which had a heavy tomato base. Like that was
Right.
one of my very early on with this documentary. I was like, oh, I see, because it's me and the tomato. I didn't know my
When
people on the other side was tomatoing like this. I was like, oh my God.
when he made that connection with the spaghetti, that was the first time I got it. Because I've
Mm,
my entire life been like, those are two different meals.
Thank you.
yeah.
Yes.
There's fish and then
Yeah.
there's spaghetti. That's two different meals. Spaghetti is not a side dish.
Yes,
But I
it
could
is.
I could see it. I could see the connection there because of the tomato base. It's like, okay, there's something that is in a memory that we have forgotten, that we just continue to, oh, this thing is very similar. It's got the components of what we used to do, and we don't even know what that thing is anymore, but we still got to have it. I got it.
Mm.
I guess I will leave the people alone.
I will too. I'm gonna take that off my list of like
Y'all
the
wrong to
mystery.
put that on your list.
I did not know when we moved here 20 some years ago. I was like fish fries and spaghetti. Like what kind of food?
Yeah,
What they doing? I
on
didn't
the
know.
on the
No.
Friday. That's
Yeah.
I thought it was the influence from like people been in the north too long and they had the influence from the Italians, or they got access to spaghetti, so you got to use the tomato somehow. I was confused, but now I will leave it alone. I'll lay it to rest.
Yes. I guess. I mean, there were revelations and changes in how I think. I guess. Any other connections?
I
He
have to
was
say, sorry, Marcus, go ahead.
all right. He was eating at that restaurant with that one woman, and they had ordered different things. And like halfway through the meal, like, you have to try this. They traded the whole plate in the middle of a restaurant. You're like, yep, Yep, that's.
But you could
I
tell
don't know anybody
Marcus,
else
he
doing that.
wanted what she had in the
Right.
beginning. It was like,
Right.
well, how
Oh,
come I
That
got
was
this?
that was quite clear. Why did I get chicken? That was quite clear.
oh yeah, she has some sort of whipped sweet potato mousse with grilled shrimp. I want that meal right now. I'm gonna climb through the TV
Yeah.
and I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
There was
He's like,
I wrote
oh,
that
this
one down. I'm
chicken
like,
looks delicious.
who can make this?
Can I just say one thing that's probably highly inappropriate? Was this show not just sexy? Like the lighting was always perfect. The food was always glistening. Like he was talking that good talk to everybody. He was down in their faces. They was trading food, talking about textures and crispy. It was real sexy. Like, oh my goodness.
Well, he's a sommelier, so it's all about the flavors and the
flavor.
tones. Yeah,
It was a lot going on. I was like, oh,
it
this is
was.
all I was.
Judy.
Yeah, no, I actually, that same scene that Marcus mentioned, I cracked up so hard because the minute her food came out, I was like, oh, she played him. I was like, she played him dirty too. She's like, oh, mine is so delicious.
Oh my God.
I was actually really happy that she traded him because I was like, that is cold. Like, are you gonna let me try?
And when he got it, I mean, he wasn't just like, because
I know.
before he was
He's
taking
like-
little bites and he like,
Yes.
oh my God,
Went in.
he was digging in.
He did. Oh my God. That and then the comment about sweet potatoes. So I have to say something about the sweet potatoes in America. I can't stand them. I think they're like probably just terrible because the sweet potatoes we grew up with, one, they're a different color. They're firm. They're not mushy like the ones here. So it was funny when he was talking about yams.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it made me think of Big Jar. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But it was just really interesting when that there's this whole argument. For me, I was like, who would say sweet potatoes are yams? Like, have you seen yams? What is going on?
I found out I had not.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the
Most people
same
have
reason.
not. And so that's
No.
why. I mean, I remember us talking about this when we were doing that with the session with Opa. It's an ongoing thing about yams and sweet potatoes. And here's the kicker that a lot of people may not know, is that the sweet potatoes that you are buying in the cans is really squash. It's not even sweet potatoes.
Mhm.
They will sometimes trade that out with different types of squash that has the same texture and color. But sweet potatoes are more expensive than squash. And, people trying to make money off the canned vegetables. So most folks, when they think they're getting sweet potatoes, they are getting some sort of squash mixed in there.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
See, I only eat the other sweet potatoes, so I'll only get them from like the African market, and then even their yams. Like I grew up eating arrowroots. What are they called? They're like the purple ones. I don't know what they're called. Shoot, what the heck are they called? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not a clue.
No,
I do.
like purple
Taro,
guy.
taro.
Yeah.
Is it taro?
Taro?
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Taro.
So that's what we like in my tribe. Like I said, we are very plant based, right? Which is why I eat meat like it's going out of style because it was it was way more scarce than plant based. But yes, so the taro that we eat at home is very huge, right? So it's very similar to yams. So when he was saying, oh, there's this confusion of yams and I'm like, wait, I can see confusion of taro and yams, but yams and sweet potatoes, no. But yeah, the sweet potatoes that we eat, one, they're white inside and they're very firm. So we boil them for a very long time to soften them. And then you eat them with tea or you eat them as a meal on their own. So anyway, it was really good seeing that. And I did not understand the spice part because in where I'm from, we do not do spice. hot sauce things. That's very Western Africa thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it was still pretty cool to learn about their stuff. So.
Interesting. You don't do any kind of spicy?
Like hot stuff, not really. Not Kenyans, we do lots of salt, but that's it. Like we don't do spice, like anything hot. I've learned to because I spent time years in Nigeria, and I'm surrounded by West Africans. So generally I've taken, like, we will eat like Indian spice, right? Like, because again there's a lot of Indian restaurants in Kenya, and so we've learned to eat hot food. But in the house, when I am cooking, it's very rare for me to like go and put like a whole pot of like the whole food for the family to put hot. So the only time we do that is when you're cooking beans, because the pilipili, the hot spice or whatever it is, it helps. If you put that, it helps with the swelling of the stomach, so you don't get as gassy. But that's the only time that
Oh,
in my tribe we would generally do that. But generally we do not use hot pepper. So yeah.
you just blew my mind.
Judy,
Very bland.
Can you say the name of your tribe again? Your Miss Judy,
Gikuyu.
can you say the name?
We are Gikuyu. It's spelled Gikuyu, but then sometimes it's
Gikuyu.
spelled with a K. Kikuyu.
Oh,
But yeah, so we are the Agikuyu people.
Agikuyu.
okay.
Yeah, very bland food, but very good. And very strong. We have very wiry calves for climbing the hills and the mountain. Yes, we do. If you've seen my calves, very skinny and wiry, because we have a lot of hills. So that's why, yeah. But
Okay.
no hot sauce stuff. But now I eat it now because I've developed a taste for it.
My mother doesn't, she never liked things hot or spicy. My father, he kept a jug with peppers, banana peppers, and vinegar. And he would, that was just his thing that he would pour on his greens.
Pepper sauce. Yep.
Yeah.
It's common.
That and all the hot sauces.
Yep.
Yeah, just we had Tabasco.
You know, I
he
didn't
had-
know that black people didn't eat hot things until I was grown. I was almost in my 30s before I knew that there were black people that didn't like hot things. Like, that wasn't my experience. Everything had hot sauce on it. Everything had crushed red pepper in it. Everything was hot. Like, these were people, field folks. The heat the heat helps with the sweating and stuff. And my folks were sharecroppers. So that's how, so pepper was, and spice was a lot of our diet.
When they were
hot
in
sauce
the,
thing resonated with me for that.
yes, I remember like I had to graduate to the hot sauce that my dad ate. He would like start me off with, okay, you put a little bit of this first. And then for years, I couldn't have the other hot sauce until I had like graduated, until, it was a whole process with my father, and still never put that pepper sauce on anything. I still never did. But when they were in the restaurant, in the restaurant with the author of High on the Hog, and she was telling him, okay, now you do you as far as the spice, and it was kind of green. I was like, I bet that's like a pepper relish sort of thing. And it looked like cha-cha to me. It looked like cha-cha. And I remember growing up, my grandmother would make cha-cha. So I don't even know what was the base. Nancy, what is the base for the cha-cha?
It depends on what you have. Some people will use a leafy green like cabbage or something because it can hold up to it. But it's really a lot of different peppers that you put in it, because it's like an elevated pepper sauce where it has more. If you think about what kimchi is in Korean culture, then it's similar to that with whatever you have available. Because I've seen people in the South, cha-cha look different than the people up here. And I think that it's because of what's readily available when they are making it. But the elements are having something that can soak up or hold on to the sauce and the pepper, like can withstand it. And also having the heat, but also having that vinegary taste in it. And to connect with what Judy was saying, about why you have the sauce with the beans. I think that pepper sauce and having something hot is a part of, like what Carla was saying. It helps with the sweat and everything. But the other thing is capsaicin helps with inflammation. And when I was looking at all the other things, like they have ginger in a lot of things, and turmeric. And when you look at all of those things, those are anti-inflammatories. And I think that all of those things have balanced what food was available so that it didn't have the negative effect on their bodies that can manifest, but you have something to balance.
Nancy, did you have any other connections?
The okra and the sweet potatoes and the hot sauce, because even though we didn't make spicy food, we always had pepper sauce and hot sauce available because my dad used to eat it a lot. And then when people would come over, you'd always have it. We didn't have cha-cha as much. Again, it was a lot of ingredients. We didn't need things to be that fancy. You had pepper sauce and you had hot sauce. And so we grew a whole lot of peppers. So you could have different types of pepper sauce because you really just had to have the peppers and you have vinegar. And then if you wanted to have a sweetener, you can put that in it. Or if you wanted to add, something else for color, you can do that. But it was mainly pepper sauce and hot sauce.
My grandmother's cha-cha, it was peppers, and she would chop them up into little cubes, and it was sweet. So I didn't like greens unless I had grandma's cha-cha. So it was the way to get me, I don't know about any of the other kids, but me to eat the greens. I would eat greens all day long. If I can have a teaspoon of that cha-cha on top and stir that around and make it a little bit sweet. But that was my grandmother's cha-cha. So it wasn't hot at all. But what he had, it looked like some kind of cha-cha that I now see the people, they use the food processor and chop things up real fine. That's what it looked like.
And these days, if you go to like an elevated farm to table type restaurant, you may have piccalilli, which is like an updated term for cha-cha.
Oh.
So usually you can find it on a charcuterie board where you have piccalilli. It will have the cauliflower and the carrots and things like that in there, along with your cheeses and your meats. And it's because of that fermentation and the vinegar and how it helps to balance the fattiness of the meat and the cheese.
They've gentrified our cha-cha?
Yes, ma'am. It costs more as piccalilli.
Yes. It has been gentrified. It's true.
And it's also representative of other cultures too, because nothing ever stayed in one area. Right. So it's called piccalilli from other cultures, but you will find it named piccalilli because cha-cha on your brunch menu is not likely to get you as much as piccalilli will. I'm just saying. It's marketing.
Oh, I can't believe
it is marketing.
Oh, you can absolutely believe that.
We can't have nothing. I'm telling you, I even looked at the prices of neck bones a few weeks ago, and I said, "Are they trying to gentrify the neck bone too?"
I think that everything has been taken.
They trying to take the neck bone, and I can't stand for it. Next they'll come for the chitlin. I don't even want the chitlin, but I feel like I have to defend it.
Oh, I feel like they went for the chitlins first. Like that was some years ago. They went for the chitlins.
They don't say that out loud. They still don't talk about it out loud.
Yeah, I think they did that one before. Okay, so so that meal that she got him with that shrimp. And then he went to the village, Abomey. Um, and there was just one thing that he said as he was looking at the road. And I was like, that's not striking me right. Because he said he wanted to take that image and his ancestors back. And I said, no, you brought them with you. You brought them back. Like he wasn't, it was a couple times he did it. Like I don't think he processed exactly what he was doing. He didn't see himself bringing his ancestors with him on that journey. He kept looking at what he could take back with him to his people.
I actually understood it the other way. So, like, when he was talking about bringing them back, I thought he meant that he had come with them and was bringing them back. Like, in that one where he was on the road, I mean, obviously it would, it would be different that they were going in that direction. But like when they were at the point of no return over there in Benin, and he was crying when he was with the lady who wrote the book, and he's like, I brought them home. I guess that's what I was thinking. I thought maybe surely that's what he means, is that since he's here, he's had an opportunity to come back and to bring his ancestors back with him. But on the road one, I was like, does he mean, so I was like, I think he means maybe he brought them back and they would be traversing the same road, but in the opposite direction. Anyway, I don't know. At least that's how I felt, because I was like, I think that's what he means. Right.
Right. We had to do some interpreting.
Well, what I'm going to say is I actually agree with Jay, because I was thinking the same thing. And as I reflected on it, because I did get to watch it twice, and I reflected on young brother Stephen, because I think what was beautiful and magical about it is that he didn't understand the gravity of where he was at any point. Spirit was literally like, I would love to talk to him now that he's seen it a couple of times, because I think that confusion was happening because he truly was so overwhelmed. I think he set out to do this Du Boisian talented tenth, like, I shall prove to white people that our cuisine is worthy. Like he did his respectability. He set out to do his respectability tour, and Spirit took him on another direction. And I think in those moments where he was stuttering, because I always felt he was sincere, but I felt in the moments where he was stuttering because he wasn't aware. He wasn't present. He was being moved. And it was quite beautiful to watch, actually. Every time he made those confusions, you could see that his soul was right, but he had no clue of what words to use to express it. It was actually quite endearing and beautiful to me. I thought he was adorable.
Well, I think he was just the host. The executive producers, one of which is Karis Jagger, who is Mick Jagger's biracial daughter. The other one is Jade. But anyway, Karis is one of the executive producers. I just always think that's fascinating about Mick Jagger. That he was just the host. So he's prepared to do this. But it's like, I looked at it differently from the perspective of, and I can't think of her name, the author of High on the Hog. Like, she's entrenched in understanding those connections.
Her name's Jessica P. Harris.
Yes. Whereas he looked like he was, and it might have been good because he was taking people on a journey that might not be that entrenched too. That he was making discoveries, like new discoveries. I loved when they were sitting at the table at the very end with the artist and the girl that he was in the initial restaurant. And she got the shrimp disc. I think her first name was Corel, and he kept saying that you all are, you all are home. And Ramald was like, no, 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 stop saying you. This is our home. Like you could see he hadn't
He hadn't
gotten
done
it
it.
all.
He hadn't figured it out. That's what was so endearing to me about this whole series. Because it was a lot of that, where that kid was running like, this is an opportunity. I'm about to be this journalist. Yeah, suck it. And like, history just ruled him and took him on a journey. And it was so beautiful to watch.
Yeah. Any other connections or beautiful moments that you found in that first episode?
And like when they got to that end meal, that woman he was with was actually home. It was like, my grandma lived right next door.
Was that not the blackest moment ever?
I know this street.
I was like, today in Black History.
Yes. Yes.
It happens to all of us, no matter where we go. She was like, I know this. My grandmama lived that.
Yes.
She said, I didn't know until I pulled up on the block. I said, girl,
That was awesome.
on the block. Oh, Lord.
And then she said she hadn't tried this food before. And he just like, but it was right there.
Right.
You missed it.
Yes.
You in them fancy restaurants and you missing the food that's right in your...
You know,
I can't say nothing. I'm in her shoes.
You know, I actually really liked that part where the first of all, I loved the artist, loved him. In another lifetime, I would like to be like him, because so many of us, I think, especially those of us who've gone outside, it really resonates. Just the ability to pick up and leave and move and go back is something that a lot of us desire, but be it as it may, life doesn't always align itself that way, and so we're stuck here with y'all. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Until we all go.
Exactly. but then you know, I understood how, you know, she was saying she had never tried that food, right? Because there are times that I've gone back home, and depending on where I go, first of all, a lot of the food I eat is very tribal based. So I have not tried all the foods of Kenya. Matter of fact, I might not try some because I'm like, you eat what? Oh no, we don't need that in my tribe. No, thank you. What did you say? What worms? No, I am not digging for worms. No, thank you. Keep your stuff, right? I'll dig for taro, and other things. But I thought it was so beautiful that they have all these younger, but not necessarily younger, because the artist was not necessarily young, but all these people who are now coming back to really showcase their culture. Last night, side note, we were celebrating Kenya, and we had a national holiday this past week, and we were at my house, and we had like a cookout or whatever, and so a bunch of Kenyans came. Funnily enough, on the grill was not a Kenyan, was a guy from Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is known for their excellent cuisine. We had a Togolese, but the Burkina Faso, even the Togolese who came, and a Nigerian, they were the ones, they took over the grill because apparently our meat is not spicy enough, good enough, all that stuff. They were like, we don't mind. Let us grill. We'll grill for you. I was like, oh, this is lovely. No, they just wanted it how it tastes their way. Right? But we got to talking, and we were talking about Burkina Faso right now, and how, you know, there's such an explosion of just that innate pride. You know, of course, it started with the Sankara way back then, who was a politician and their leader before he was assassinated. But the guy, the Bukinabe, Abdul, was telling us about how there's this rich, like, pride that has just overtaken the entire nation from the clothing. Their food is already well known. So they take pride in their food, in the traditional, stuff. And it was just so beautiful um, to hear, to see, to eat their food when they come, their stuff. Kenyans, we had meat, but we were just gonna throw it on the grill. They're like, wait, what? Are you not gonna marinate it overnight? I'm like, overnight? The party is now. Like, we're trying to eat.
Planning, Judy, planning.
I don't know what that word means, but
Mm.
it was really interesting just hearing her, the food blogger, talking about all these younger folks who are really trying to keep and to bring back, even though it's like super fancy schmanzy, like at that restaurant with the little akume, which is like pounded, I think it's like pounded, I don't know if it's yam or something, but anyway, it was just really interesting. And I loved that scene where the artist told him, like you said, this is not your, it's our, right? And I think with the year of return, right, I think there's been such a huge influx of people from the African diaspora going back to the continent. And I loved that because I still love it. I think people from all the African diaspora are really getting a connection back to the motherland that might not have been there many years before, right?
Mm.
Even the stupid challenge that was going on during the pandemic about trying Nigerian food, right? I don't know if you saw that, and people being like, oh my God, it tastes so bad. And I'm like, oh my God, get out of here. But I love that people are exploring in all ways and people are opening themselves up. So it was good for him to kind of not get checked, but to kind of get welcomed back. Like, hey, this is not about you. It's about us. Like, this is you're part of us. So that was a beautiful moment for me.
Hmm. What survived? What survived that passage?
Hope and resilience, for one, because I've been processing this for a while now, consciously, because for a while I was like, well, we're here, we're doing the thing. History is not my forte. But I was just looking here in this book, High on the Hog, because I got it for Mother's Day one year. And I thought I would try to triangulate some things. And one of this, because it's talking about in the beginning, over 300 years, there were 27,233 transatlantic trips. That's a lot of trips, man. And for as many people to come over and to just the sheer amount of time that this happened, but to know that this is going on, to have the foresight and the fortitude to grab seeds and braid it into your hair and bring it with you, because you need some connection to the land to sustain you if you have any hope to survive. It's just beyond comprehension to me, which is why I just get back to, it has to be hope, because at any time everybody could have jumped over the edge. Some people chose to do that, but there are some people that are like, no, we're going to ride it out. Let's see what we can do. And they did things to prepare for what they could do in the midst of all of that bondage and struggle, which is just, I still have not been able to fully comprehend this. I have to literally just stop talking about it and stop thinking about it and just be present in it and try to soak that in. But that, to me, is the legacy that is still here. With all the stuff that's still going on, we still trying to work it out. Even though we have, as a scientist, we got so much evidence. It's like, why the fuck you still trying to do this? You have enough evidence that this is not going to be any different. Yet, here we are every day trying to
Every
do
day.
what we can to make it different.
Right. In spite of empirical evidence. Oh. Yeah. Oh, what happened to Judy? She didn't run away. She'll be back.
She said her phone was dying, and well, she made it.
Oh,
I was just like, can you plug it in real quick? Just
right. Hurry up, Judy. Oh, she's
yeah.
back.
That's my take on it. I that's what I keep coming back to these past 6 months and trying to process all the stuff that's going on and the history that got us here and the stuff that just keeps happening over and over in different ways. It's like it has to be hope is that one thing and the promise of like that's it for me.
Listen, to Miss Nancy's point, we are miraculous. The fact that you even meet a Black person in the colonized world is a miracle. We were set up to be squashed like bugs. Only 1 in 6 of our ancestors. If you are walking around real heavily Negroic like myself, you are the descendants of 1 in 6 that got off of that boat. The thing that was so beautiful and jarring about High on the Hog is that it just I want us to stop running away from the Middle Passage. I want us to be as amazed and surprised and in awe as the Jews are of the Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
And there is archaeological evidence that the Middle Passage happened. So I'm gonna let that go. But we need to celebrate as our brothers and sisters do, who were also marginalized, oppressed, and genocide tried to destroy them. We as Black people need to celebrate the Middle Passage because the fact that your Black ass is sitting here being all Black is a miracle. It's miraculous.
Yeah. And it's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
I think that for so many years there was so much shame around our struggle that we have to throw that away. There is nothing for us to be ashamed of. As much surviving as we have done, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
I did not kidnap myself.
No.
It's evidence. I had my DNA done.
Right. And there was also a point where in the beginning when he was in the village and the man was talking about, Africans have to take responsibility for their role in it. And yes, that's true. However, they also didn't know where we were going. And slavery was a completely different concept for them. So we can't put the onus all on them either.
Well, it is as if Thanos snapped his fingers over your village for multiple centuries, and one of your loved ones just showed it up missing and was never to return. How, pray tell, is this their fault either?
Right.
They didn't kidnap themselves, just like I didn't kidnap myself.
No. Or force them to make a decision that was a difficult decision. So, Marcus, did you have something to add to that last question?
No, I don't think so.
Hope and resilience. Nancy said it.
She
So,
She
did.
did.
who is elevating food? Well, first of all, does it have to be elevated?
No, just fucking eat the food. Like, because elevation is all how we perceive things. And I use the word elevated sometimes because sometimes I get caught in that vernacular. But sometimes it's just like organic food versus food. Like if you grew up growing your own food without chemicals, you didn't call it organic food, you called it food. But now we have all these qualifiers that we have to put around things because we've gotten away from what things really are. So food is food. It's from different cultures, it's from different experiences, it's presented in different ways. We have different palates, our bodies are different. There's a whole bunch of things, but we should probably say personalized versus elevated, because I think that would be closer to how we consume it and its impact on our bodies. Some of us may need, quote unquote, what people call elevated because we need it made in a different way for us to be able to extract what we need from it to live. But that doesn't change that it's still food that's personalized for me to survive. I don't have to make it better than, I just need to make it for me. That's a soapbox issue. I didn't realize that, but thank you.
Go, go. Step on up. Take your bow.
I'm just, I'm with you. I'm with you. But when we get to chitlins, I'm like, I'm out. I'm sorry. There's not a, there's no persuasive argument can get that into my mouth. I'm just, no. That's
So
just
no
the food
chitlins.
that y'all had because you couldn't get anything else, and you found out a way to eat it, and I don't have to, and I'm not going to. Please don't ask me. My dad used to
You
make
know.
chitlins every year,
Oh,
Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'm like, yeah, that's
oh
you.
yeah.
There's about 3 people in the whole family that eat it. Go over there. Over there.
Well, one of the things they talked about in this first episode is the right of refusal. That is one of the things they talked about. That is a powerful part of our DNA and our story. That many of our ancestors didn't make it because that was the one thing that they could control, what they put in their mouth.
Mhm.
So the right of refusal is absolutely your right, Marcus, as a colored Negro, American black man out here in these streets.
You can say no, and
You
you
can
can be
say no
fine
to
with that.
this. And we're here for you. Right of refusal.
Is there anything else that is a I don't need that on my plate for you?
Yes. I don't know about Marcus. Is there anything else that you don't eat besides chitlins, regardless of how they are prepared?
Onions, but no, there's not too many. There's not too many things where I'm just like, oh, raspberries. I don't like raspberries at all. But
Okay.
the color, the texture, the shape, the
They're
smell,
hairy. Mm-hmm.
they're just
I
not.
don't I don't I don't deal with head cheese. I don't deal with the hog's head. Like that's problematic for me. When you boil up the whole head, that I don't do head.
That has not
Mm-hmm.
even entered the thought of a thing I would eat. It's not been offered to me,
Oh my
Oh,
and I've not
god.
sought it out. I'm sorry.
Oh, y'all
oh.
really are plains Negroes. Because if you're from the South or the Midwest or the East, head cheese by any other name is head cheese. It's a boiled
No,
hog, smashed up the head, chopped into pieces, allowed to set in a mold its own gelatin and
what?
set up. And then you slice it and you
And
eat it.
eat it with a
It's
cracker.
called head cheese.
Yes. Yes. It used to be called, when I was growing up, we used to get it at this little country store when we were going to visit one set of grandparents. It was called hog heads cheese. And we
Yeah.
always got it, but it had more of a coarse pate
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
texture there. And the flavors were, it wasn't gamey. It had red peppers and all kinds of flavors in it. But you got the pack of saltine crackers that go with it, and then we all shared. That was like our snack. But there was someone, Mr. Gatewood used to make head cheese here in Omaha and sell it in the grocery stores. I don't know if he still does it, but he used to make it. His was more coarse, but it can be like a delicacy if it's made, because it's got the fat and the flavors. And trust me, there's so many things that you will eat in a soup or in like with like a gravy or stir fry that you don't know the origin. All you know is that it's meat. You're not quite sure what part of the animal it came from, because once it's chopped up and seasoned, you can't really tell as much, except for like kidneys and liver, because it's got the
irony,
exactly.
iodine.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you put enough peppers and seasonings in it, it balances those things out. And all you know is you have something tender, seasoned, that fits well on some rice or some crackers.
Look, I learned to ask.
I can't know it's head cheese. I cannot know that was a boiled hog's head's eye and gelatin. I can't know it.
No, you can't know it. All you got to do is be hungry and have somebody say, here's something to eat, and then you eat it. That happened when I had griots for the first time, and I learned that griots is spleen. But at the time, it was some very tender meat that I was eating.
Two things. So I learned to question my grandmother about everything I was eating when I ate pig's feet, and they were delicious. I remember eating them and being like, this is really good. And then we went to the poultry market a few days later, and I saw these things in the case. I was like, Grandma, what is that? And she's like, it's pig's feet. And I said, but wait a minute, we ate pig's feet the other day. She's like, yeah, that's. I said, no, Grandma, you did not serve me a pig's foot. You did not serve me a pig's foot. I did not eat that. That's just something you call it. She's like, no, that is a pig's foot.
Oh, yes.
That's the last time I did that. And my father was from Arkansas, southern rural Arkansas. He would go back to his Aunt Nunny's house, and he would get pecans from her pecan tree and hog's head cheese. And it would come in a wax paper, wrapped up, and he would put it in the refrigerator, and I would clear a space. And nothing could touch it. Nothing I consumed could touch it. It had its own space in the refrigerator until it was fully consumed. And when he went to go grab it, I was like, I'm out. Like, I couldn't be in the same room watching him eat this. I was like, no, I'm done with y'all and these pigs.
Hog head cheese is the nastiest thing I've ever had in my mouth. And I'm a loose skirt Catholic school girl. So listen, when I tell you that is the nastiest thing I've ever had in my mouth, I'm not being hyperbolic.
Well, Carla, it's like they say, a lot of things they say, you just ain't had it right.
Which I understand, because I probably would have eaten it if I didn't know what was in it, because I consumed a lot of Braunschweiger as a child, which is very German, and it looks like pate, and I eat it on crackers. But I still don't really want to know what was in it.
There was some liver or some animal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was some animal's liver.
I just know it was delicious.
Probably might have been bunny liver or something. A little bug's liver.
It's survival. It is survival. You get it because, it's got high iron content, and you need that for your blood and oxygen to keep moving.
I'm like Marcus. Marcus is about chitlins. That's how I am about liver and hog head cheese. I don't care what you do to it. I don't care if you pray to it, if it prays back. I'm not doing it.
Oh my goodness.
Right of refusal. Right of refusal.
Yes. And that is so awesome that we are in the place that most of us can choose. And that, but there are still conditions that we experience in this country and abroad where some people don't have that ability to choose, which means that there is still more work to do around food sovereignty.
Right.
I think before we did this, and I told my mom what we were talking about, she was like, and you know, you eat high on the hog, right? And I said, yes, and I thank you for putting me into a position where I was able to eat high on the hog. But you know, I don't like hog, so no, thank you. Like I was the one only bacon or sausage, like nothing else that came from a pig did I ever want ever again. No ham. I didn't really want ribs, nothing. Yeah.
My niece is like she's a little natural pescatarian. Never did because I'm from one of these families. My mother was a green eggs and ham kind of person. You taste it, you chew it, you swallow it, and if you look me in the eye and tell me you can't digest it, I'll never make you eat it again.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was really fair. My sister did. That's how she raised her children. The girl just never wanted the big red steak. She doesn't. She wanted a piece of fish. She always wanted a piece of fish. That's who she is. Like, right of refusal, man. That is truly one of your powers as a human.
Yes.
To be able to control. That is a human right.
Yes.
And that was one of the beautiful messages in this first episode and the series. That because I'm going to disagree with you a bit, Miss Nancy.
That's fine. That's why we're here.
I liked the hoity-toity negroity conversation about food being elevated, and it's the texture and the crunch and the moistness
I love
of
that
the
too.
marrow.
Yes,
And I agree with you that it is a pretentious way to go into everyday gastronomy. It's just, but it was something beautiful about watching a series that was celebrating the fact that my people built this. I remember being a teenager at a white glove, late teens, early 20, at a white glove wedding, sitting at a table with a bunch of white kids that didn't know that you ate from the outside in. And I'm like, of course I know this. My people were servants and chefs. I come from the house Negroes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I always knew what bouillon-based was.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
I was like, who doesn't know how to make a roux? Who are these people?
Yes. 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 And that part I absolutely, but I hate when people try to use that as a way to divide who has access and who doesn't. Like everybody deserves to have that food at that level if that is what they choose and what they want. That's the thing. I love talking about textures, and I agree with you. My mother was a domestic from when she was 12 until she went off to college, because that's how she got extra money, and she was able to buy fabric to make her clothes for herself, and she made a wedding dress that way. So absolutely all the things that you were saying. I just don't want people to use it as like a card to be able to say, well, you get this and you get this, because you aren't invited into the canon of being able to savor and describe your food. You just got to get whatever we decide to give you. That's the part that I don't like.
And I agree with that 100%. I agree with you. And I love the hoity-toity negroides, because we are the hoity-toity.
Baby, you saw them sweet breads. You saw how that food was made
with the juice.
Thank you.
We are the hoity-toity. I deserve to be talking about the crunch and the texture and the competing odors. I deserve that.
Every bit of it.
So the next time that we meet and we talk about the second episode, that's really when we get into what is high-end food in this country and
Right.
who made it as such.
Yep.
Because who was cooking in them kitchens and who was serving that food. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about that one because we'll do that another day. Okay, so as we close out, any one last thing that you want to say, and the thing that you still have to have today, whether it's comfort or whether it's something that you have realized your body really needs, the one thing that you just have to have from our food history. Start with Carl.
Macaroni and cheese. Baked macaroni and cheese.
Oh, well, we knew what kind of macaroni and cheese you were talking about.
I just didn't want anybody to be confused
There was no
and come
confusion.
up at me with some old bowl of moist macaroni and cheese.
No,
Baked macaroni.
we knew.
I don't care where I am in space or time. What was the first part of that question?
Anything else that was in that episode that you wanted to share or that you found fascinating?
You know, I'm fascinated with mass graves.
Mm.
I'm fascinated anyway with mass graves, and I don't think we as a diaspora have taken a moment to mark our mass graves and these huge points of genocide. And that was one of the things that I thought was a brilliant way to use a culinary tale. That will stay with me for a while.
Okay. Marcus?
That whole village that was on the water is just so completely. I've never imagined such a thing. It's so completely different than the way I've lived. Anybody I know, not even like a houseboat. Like everybody lives on the water and everybody's got 3 boats. How you going to get me on a boat? I just sat there the whole time like, this exists. You can go there because it looked like from above it had been flooded, but like no, that's just how they live. I'm like, do they have?
And you only
ties?
see that image out of Thailand and you only see that image out of Asia.
Yes.
Like you never see that image in
Yes.
Africa or the Caribbean. But water
Yes.
people are common.
Yes.
And everybody knows how to move these boats around.
Yes.
The kids got a boat. The whole time, just watching like this is not. It's real.
Honey, the boat market was what got me when they just slid up to her and bought some treats. I was like, well, look out. It's just
And everything's in plastic so it doesn't get wet. And you're like,
Yes.
yeah, that's smart. That's all real smart.
and it's still crispy with all of that water. Moisture ain't getting to it. That's some talent.
Yeah. Yeah,
Listen,
Hey,
sis did not miss any of her coins on the water.
Nothing. No.
She had a hairnet and
Just,
yeah, that sitting on stilts was amazing. I never heard of anything like that before. I'm not an Africanist, so I dip and dabble in certain places, and Benin is not one of those places I've done a whole lot of reading or research on. So I was like, what? So they're basically Maroons.
yeah.
mm-hmm.
They were running away from
Yes.
slavers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they called them slaves, and they may have been considered that, but I consider at that point they were still African people that were captured and kidnapped, and they found a way to escape in a place where the white folks couldn't go get them, and the whole story, the whole lore around the priest called down the hawk. And then the
Right.
crocodile carried them to the island. I was like, okay, so we were all still doing that. The people that flew away, all our fairy tales, our stories, all of that are just so connected. Like that part was just amazing to me.
The people are called the Tofin, which roughly
Mhm.
translates to water population.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I don't say it right. It's Guavi, Ganvi, Gani.
Ganvier.
Gonvier.
Ganvier.
That was
Ganvier,
it. Yeah. Gonvier.
name of the town that is
Yes.
on the water population is the exact
With
translation.
with the Catholic Church, the mosque, the Celestial Church, and
Yes.
the
Because
Voodoo Church.
Yes.
because we all do whatever we want to do. And if you want to go get your ashes on Ash Wednesday from the Catholic, walk to the Voodoo Church afterwards and sacrifice a chicken, you can do both. Why? Because we don't give a fork or two knives. And that
Right.
is how black people move. You know what? This is a lesson. That's a
Exactly.
whole listen. This is a whole like syllabus right now.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take that one section and teach
Mm-hmm.
white people. This is how black people understand the world. We're floating
Mm-hmm.
in water and people are doing whatever the hell they want to do. And I don't care.
Because if you sacrifice that chicken, what you gonna do with that chicken afterwards? You gonna cook it in a pot.
It's not going to.
You gonna cook that chicken in a pot.
Literally, I saw the
There's
token.
a
I was like,
purpose for all of that.
those are my people. The I don't do fork people.
Yes.
I can give
Okay.
I can give my 13-year-old a boat. They gotta go places.
Right. And you don't have time to be rowing them down the stream. They need to go on their own.
Right. And one of them boats had all the kids.
Yeah.
Like, we just gonna all travel to the school or wherever. Like the bus stop was the boat stop for the school. Like
Yes.
Like,
I
what happens?
can't
Like, you're
visit.
7 years old
I'm
now.
not getting in that little boat. But I would love to be on the outside.
Wait, Marcus, say that again.
I'm just like, you're 7 years old now. Time to learn to row. Here we go. This is for you.
Next year you get your boat. Next year you get your boat.
I can't wait for you to get your boat. We gonna paint it.
And you know
What
if they
color
got
do
boats
you want your boat?
and they live on the water that they can swim.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, those little
But, you
horrible
know,
children be diving to the bottom to catfish because that's a catfish kind of community.
Mhm.
I know where catfish dwell.
They're in the bottom.
Like that.
right.
Oh,
Marcus, did you say the one thing that you can't live without?
I know I
Or that
didn't.
you need-
Spice. I need spice on everything
Mm.
all the time. And I need sweet potato pie. Because there has never been a pumpkin pie that I've enjoyed. They've all been a disappointment. Like, listen to that pie right there. Oh, it's pumpkin. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go back to
You
what I
can
was
usually
doing.
tell the color is off just slightly.
The color's just a little off, but if they burnt it, you're like, that might be sweet potato. It isn't.
no.
Got my hopes up. You ruined my day. Just want you to know.
And Nancy?
Probably the thing that I eat the most is sweet potatoes still. We grew most of the sweet potatoes that we ate growing up. And sometimes my dad will, like, if we go back home to visit, he will buy sweet potatoes as part of like the 4-H fundraiser from my nieces and nephews, and we'll bring cases of sweet potatoes back with us. And I still bake them, if not every week, at least twice a month, so that I just have them. And for desserts, we used to have my mom's mom used to make sweet potato pies, but when she passed, for some reason, I started making sweet potato pies. And now whenever I go back home, I will make like 13 to 20 pies at a time, so that there's enough for everybody to get them. And that they say that it tastes like her pie, which I accept that she has bestowed that upon me, because I never had even tried to make them before. So sweet potatoes is a thing that I can't give up. And I was most fascinated by the connection of the different foods, because I'm really trying to change my diet to fight off inflammation, and to just learn about all of the foods that that are used, that were used in the cuisine in Benin, and how, like I said earlier, those are mostly anti-inflammatories, and how the anthropological connection of food from our cultural history into what we're doing now to try to survive, and where we may not always look to food to help heal us in the way that we tend to try to use modern medicine. That is the a fascinating part for me, that I'm exploring more on how do I cultivate this so that I change what my diet is so I can live a better life and get closer to how our ancestors survived eating centuries ago.
Mm.
Hmm.
For me, it's catfish, fried catfish. My grandfather used to fry catfish, and I remember what his catfish tasted like. I don't know anyone that really comes close to that memory, but I'm always chasing it, and I and I have to have it with hot sauce because there's no way to have it without hot sauce. I was in Egypt, which I did not expect to find the connections in Egypt, knowing that history and how they don't really necessarily consider themselves African. They don't necessarily consider themselves African, but the food tells a different story. When we went to the restaurant and they had, the food for they had, it was a beef meal. They had shish kebabs and steak and chicken and things. And I told him, I said, "Oh, I don't eat meat." And he said, "Oh, okay, let me see if they've got some fish." And they said, "Oh yeah, they said that they've got some fish. They'll bring you out a different plate." They didn't ask me how I wanted it. They didn't ask me anything. They brought me some fried fish. And that fish was amazing. And after 2 bites, I was like, man, I need some hot sauce. I'm not going to be that person though. And I didn't see any out. So I didn't ask. The next restaurant we went to, and every other restaurant after that, hot sauce on every table. I was like, of course they have hot sauce. I'm still on the continent. So, yeah, it's catfish for me. Okay, so this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Nancy, for coming and joining us with all of your expertise.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm going to have you tell us a little bit about what you do and where we can find you. And then we'll go with Carla and then Marcus. Also want to say thank you to Judy Kiagiri, who joined us, and then her phone died. But she'll be back. Okay, Nancy.
So my day job is I work as the CEO for No More Empty Pots, and you can find more information about No More Empty Pots at NMEP, that's Nancy Mary Edward Paul, Omaha.org. And what we do is work in connecting people to resources in the food system, from production, processing, consumption, distribution, and recycling. And we have a food hub at 8501 North 30th Street. We are preparing to reopen to the public, but we do have summer engagement going on right now with after school organizations and Peter Kiewit Summer Fun. And you can sign up for the CSA that will be relaunched soon, where we buy local food from local farmers and we make that into scratch-made meals. But you can also get local and seasonal produce delivered to your home weekly, or you can pick it up. And you can find all of that at nmepomaha.org. Thanks for having me.
If you're in Omaha, get that CSA box. There was some fresh feta cheese in a couple of those boxes last month. Man, it went really nice with the farm fresh eggs and the spinach and made a wonderful frittata.
Yes.
It was great. And it all came from the same box.
Hmm.
All right, Carla Stillwell.
Before I say anything about myself, I would like to point out that Marcus may have crossed the line. Um, I saw the way that he looked at Miss Nancy when she talked about the number of sweet potato pies that she makes. Marcus's face did a thing that I don't know. I wasn't comfortable. And I just wanted to point out that he lecturized Miss Nancy's sweet potato pies. I
No, no,
saw him do
no.
it. I saw him do it.
I
I
think you
saw it
misread my
happen.
face. My face was, I wonder how I can get pie number
Yeah.
14.
Yes.
No, I didn't misread your face,
No.
sir. I saw it in your eyeball.
Uh-huh.
13, huh? Hmm.
I can hook you up next time I make pies. I'll make
I'm
sure you
about to
get one.
say, because
Okay.
you can find me at Nancy's house taking notes like, what you put that in?
I actually have the recipe. I modified the because people ask for it so much. I do have the recipe that I'm on text, so I can just forward it to you if you want to
Okay,
attempt
yeah.
it yourself.
I'm gonna give. What's your phone number?
Okay. All right, we can deal with
Right.
that
When we get off.
Slide into
after
your
we are
DM.
done.
Now
Look, Carla, look what you started.
sweet potato pie. Over sweet potato pie.
I'm not wrong, and I'm not apologizing.
but kudos to you for picking it up because you watching what's happening, Carla.
I said, what is that look on Marcus's? Why is he looking at Miss Nancy talk about sweet potato pie? What the hell? There's children in the room.
Oh my
You
God.
can find me all over the internet, Carla Stillwell, Miss Stillwell. If you nasty, whatever, just type it in. I'm out here doing that. The next time I show up, I'll have a big surprise about what's going on
Ooh.
here in Chicago with Stillwell Institute for Contemporary Black Art this summer. It's going down. So just come holler at me. Come find me.
Great. And Marcus, who wants
All right,
sweet
I'm
potato
Marcus
pie.
Ross. You can find me on Twitter at Marcus Ross and at Waterbear Games. I'm designing tabletop games in my spare time, and I'll be hunting down that sweet potato pie recipe. I'm not even kidding. It's not a joke. I will. As soon as this recording is off, I'm getting that.
Oh my dear. Oh my dear.
Clutch my pearls.
Gosh.
I need to check the freezer and see if I still have some filling in there because sometimes I have leftover that I save for later. So I'll check.
We in the same
Honey,
city.
it's children. It's children watching. It's children watching. This is real inappropriate. Marcus is eyeballs.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we will come back and we'll talk about episode 2, which that's my world right there in episode 2. That macaroni and cheese. But anyway, afroscapescurls.com tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 Eastern. We are going to have the Young League, some of the regular league, but some young leaguers are going to be talking about the shows and the games that they are looking forward to playing and watching during their summer vacation so that we can take some notes and see what they up to. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Alex Horton said that he just got done eating at Okra.
Yes.
And
Okra is awesome.
And I highlight that because after I watched that first episode, the next day I was like, I need some African food. And I sure did call up Okra and I got a bunch of food delivered to the house. It's like I need some African food right now.
Yes, I love her I love her black-eyed peas and plantain chips is such a good snack. It's just scoop and eat. It's just delicious.
The black-eyed peas with the red rice and the peanut sauce.
Yeah, it's good.
And
And that
real
ginger lemonade.
Oh, I make 3 drinks out of that 1 cup because it's potent. You just cut it with something else.
Yes,
Because
yes.
you don't just sip on that.
No, it's
So
but
when I
it's
come
so
back,
gingery.
I'll
It's
have to
so
take you
good.
there.
Yes, we will take you to Okra when you come.
Good.
Yes. All right. Now I'm really hungry.
Yeah, it was a mistake not to eat before I got on this
I told you
show.
in the notes, I said, bring a snack.
Yeah, but it didn't say you need to call Joe Tess and get
I know. I really feel like I
Yeah,
need.
because Jay really did amp up this fish thing. It's like, do I have fish?
Mm.
Can I go get fish? Where can I get fish?
It's like I have salmon in the refrigerator and I was going to put it on the grill, but now I really need some fried.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Mm.
Okay. Well, that's a whole
Food
situation.
It
sharing.
is.
All right. You all have a great week. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes.